What's up, everybody? It's Make It Make Sense, and I don't really know. I kind of expected this. The Trump DOJ just released the complete transcripts of Ghislaine's interview that she did in July. And of course, she says Trump was innocent. We got to talk about it. Like the video's intro plays, we got a lot to get into.
Make it make sense.
Make it make sense.
Make it make sense to me intellectually.
Make it make sense. You know what's up.
Big moves. Surfer. Make it make sense. Tell me how you squeeze it. Make it make sense. Tell me about the things that you say. Make it make sense. Tell me about the things of your dreams. Hey, let me work out all the things in between. Make it make sense. Tell me how you squeeze it. Make it make sense. Tell me about the things that you say. Make it make sense. Tell me about the things of your dreams. Hey, let me work out all the things in between. Make it make sense.
Jesus, I bow my head
So
before
listen,
you, and I ask
I'm gonna
you.
check your blood pressure real quick, okay?
Okay, take
Okay,
it.
thank you.
I've been checked from one end to the other. See if I'm pregnant at 66 years old.
It's possible, man.
Well, I know it is. He's tried to do it in my ear and my face and put it all over me. How would you like to have cum poured all over you?
Stop. There's a child right there.
Well, maybe that child needs to hear.
That is funny.
Okay. Y'all, you cannot make this up. This can't be America. This cannot be America in 2025. You can't be convicted of some of the most heinous crimes to children because you weren't just a liaison to the crime. You were actually also playing with those little girls. You were teaching them. Sorry, this is not going to be one of those videos that's PG, just FYI. You literally were playing with those little girls and you were teaching them exactly how Jeffrey liked it, from the stroke to everything else. You were a part of this, and that's why a jury of your peers convicted you for 20 years. In what world would we allow a billionaire's girlfriend who was convicted of heinous crimes to move to a low security prison right after she gives an interview with the president's Department of Justice where she exonerates the president? I have the full transcript. I'm going to give you guys some of the highlights, and you guys can kind of determine if you want me to go through the transcripts. Let me show you this, and it'll give us some of the highlights. Yes, she exonerated Trump. And what do you know? She's then moved to a low-income prison. You can't make,
I never saw the president in any type of massage setting. I never witnessed the president in any inappropriate setting in any way. The president was never inappropriate with anybody. In the times that I was with him, he was a gentleman in all respects.
This second part of the
Did I say low income? I meant low security prison. They moved her to a low security prison. But I want you guys to hear this again.
this first excerpt.
I never saw the president in any type of massage setting. I never witnessed the president in any inappropriate setting in any way. The president was never inappropriate with anybody. In the times that I was with him, he was a gentleman in all respects.
This
By his own admission, he said he could grab him by the pee. So, maybe clearly you would not have been his type, but this speaks to a cover-up, in my opinion. And this is blatant, brazen even.
second part of the audio from the transcript of that Todd Blanche, Deputy Attorney General, interview with Ghislaine Maxwell. It's a discussion about whether or not Ghislaine Maxwell believes Jeffrey Epstein committed suicide while in custody.
So you think he did not die by suicide, given all the things we just talked about?
I do not believe he died by suicide, no.
And do you believe that, do you have any speculation or view of who killed him?
No, I don't.
And this third and final part of the transcript in audio
deals with what Ghislaine Maxwell does.
So Trump is exonerated. Now we have a new conspiracy to go along with, but you weren't there. You're not even giving us any reason as to why they would want to have him murked if there is no Epstein list. Do y'all see how this is not making any sense?
Does or doesn't know about Jeffrey Epstein and former President Bill Clinton.
Do you know what?
Hold on. Somebody said, stop trying to make the president the bad guy. Did I lie on him? Did he not say he could walk up to anybody and grab him by the pee? Let me know. If I made that up and that's not like a fact that's just well known, then go ahead. Definitely check me on it. But I didn't say anything that was a lie. He said it.
Whether, for example, President Clinton ever received a massage.
I don't believe he did.
And what makes you say you don't believe he did?
Well, because I don't. So that's a good question. The time that Epstein and President Clinton spent together, the only times I believe, well, obviously they traveled. There was that, they went on the plane 26 times or whatever. That would be one journey. So they spent time on the plane together, and I don't believe there was ever a massage on the plane. So that would have been the only time that I think that President Clinton could have even received a massage, and he didn't, because I was there.
Okay. Do you see? This is what I mean by you need a bipartisan, I don't know, interviewer, a bipartisan attorney, somebody, not the Department of Justice that's run under the president who is coming under fire for potentially being a part of this. You need somebody who does not report to the president, because you see how those two questions were shaped? She was allowed to say that Trump was always a perfect gentleman. If the same applied to Bill Clinton, then wouldn't she have said that? I've only ever known him to be a perfect gentleman. That's not what she said. And the question itself was leading. That's the difference between me and a lot of these other, we'll just say, commentators. I come from the aspect of protecting children. I don't care if you are a Democrat. I don't care if you're a Republican. I don't care about any of that. What I care about is protecting kids and calling stuff out that, let me take it a step back. That was a very leading question about Bill Clinton. And if you could be a Trump supporter, but if you don't see that, then your eyes are closed. Whether it's Trump, whether it's a reality star, whether it's a celebrity that you like, what I'm seeing more often than not is people will jump through hurdles to make something that their favorite did that is wrong a right. They will bend into a pretzel to make their fave, whether it's the president, whether it is your favorite singer, seem right in a situation. And this is not the space for you if that's what you do, because everybody gets it on this channel across the board. Just FYI.
So Jake.
Very leading question.
And I don't believe there was ever a massage on the 26 times or whatever together.
We did. For example, President Clinton never received a massage.
I don't believe he did.
And what makes you say you don't believe he did?
Well, because I don't. So that's a good question. The time that Epstein and President Clinton spent together, the only times I believe, well, obviously they traveled. There was that, they went on the plane 26 times or whatever. That would be one journey. So they spent time on the plane together, and I don't believe there was ever a massage on the plane. So that would have been the only time that I think that President Clinton could have even received a massage, and he didn't, because I was there.
So Jake.
Tracy says, this is so fake. They released everything but the files. Now, I did hear, because they don't have a choice. They do not have a choice. The Oversight Committee has requested the files, and that is a subpoena. So they sent the first batch of files over to them today. Now, that doesn't mean that we'll ever see it, but that is a bipartisan group. So that does give me a little bit more comfort, knowing that they didn't want to send them and they had to send them. Here, evening members chat. Hey, thank you for the super chat. And Chanel, thank you for being a member for 20 months. She says she is saying what she has to get minimum security. Absolutely. Absolutely. You guys got to remember, this is not, don't let the accent fool you. This is a nasty thought who literally would have Epstein's nasty ass feet in between her breasts while she's being like photographed with other multiple other men on this jet. Let me see if I have the photos. And not to let Clinton off, because I think there's a photo of him receiving a massage. Let me see. Massaging feet. Yeah, here we go. I'm not making any of this up. Let me get to the Clinton photo. Clinton being massaged by Epstein. Victim. Let's see. Now let's see the fact check on this. Okay, right here. We're getting into a lot of things today. Y'all know this kind of stuff gets me fired up. But this pic, a 2002 pic of Epstein accuser Shante Davies giving Bill Clinton a soldier massage is real. Just in this, we haven't, you know how many pages these transcripts are? Just in this moment, they just said he's never got a massage. Well, now you know she lies. There is him receiving a massage from one of Epstein's victims. Sorry, let me see. Here we go. And this is the woman that you hear massaging his crusty feet in between her breasts. Do you like, am I missing? Sometimes when I cover these stories, I think I must be going crazy, because it feels now that people want you to believe what they tell you, not what you see. If I can remember that there's a photo of Clinton getting a massage by one of the girls, how is it that this woman who has lived this experience doesn't remember that he got a massage from one of these girls? So when we're speaking on Trump and you ask me, why would I believe that she had a reason to lie? To get to minimum security. She can still be pardoned. This is not rocket science, people. You guys get it. I know you get it, but I'm talking about the public at large. When one of these politicians are said, I did a video today on a superstar who was unconscious and passed out in the backseat of a car. And one of her friends was literally in my comment section arguing with an actual music artist who's been in the business, who was actually one of MIA's, like MIA was her mentor. It's MIA's protege. And we all know what the industry did to her. She's arguing it down like, oh, you know, Tyler doesn't drink. I know for a fact she doesn't drink. The girl is passed out. If it wasn't drugs, it was something. But it's almost ingrained. Listen to what we are telling you. And if you see something, we have repeated over and over again that it wasn't us, to the point where the public at large starts to believe that it's not them. Of course, I'm not going to believe Ghislaine. She has everything to gain from saying what the DOJ or what Trump or whomever could potentially be on this list wanted her to say. She has everything to gain. She already isn't a looker. Imagine what she's going to look like in 20 years. She's not going to be able to, you know, sell herself to the highest billionaire and completely violate little girls anymore. What is she going to do? The only thing she can, sell out to make sure that any of these elite people are not named. There is a reason that the Department of Justice chose to release this BS interview, because they knew that it exonerated a man who they spent so many man hours redacting in the Epstein files, the president. You don't have to like me. You can be an adamant supporter of Trump, his policies, and everything else. But if we can't have a meeting of the minds about protecting children, then again, this is not the space for you. And I'm one of the channels that's like, I enjoy for people to have a different opinion, but you got to keep your eyes open. She just said Clinton did not ever massage a girl. It's one Google search and a fact check to see that he actually got a massage from one of your girls, one of the girls you taught exactly how to stroke Epstein's piece. You taught these little girls exactly how he liked it, and then engaged in threesome type sexual activities with these little girls. That's what you did. So why would we believe anything where you didn't give up anything per se, other than to say that the president had no parts of this? That's the only thing you did. And just like that, you're moved to a low security prison. And one of the prisoners at that low security prison actually had an issue, went to the press and could not understand why this woman had been moved. And you know what they did? The warden called this other prisoner into her office and then transferred that prisoner to high security because she had something negative to say about Ghislaine. This is where we're at, y'all. Divinus, thank you so much for the super sticker. I appreciate you. Let's go back to this because I have all the transcripts, but this just made me mad.
There are, what, about 250 plus pages in the transcript of the 300 plus, yep. Actually, over 2 days. And Ghislaine Maxwell, based on my quick reading of the transcripts, and please correct me if I'm wrong, comes off as someone who was around lots of things, but saw and knows practically nothing.
That's certainly how she paints herself, and I think we should remind our audience she had a lot to gain from this 9-hour-plus conversation with Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche. Not a lot to lose, seeing she was in a maximum security prison.
I'm Catholic, and if any of the Vatican or whomever, because I consider them the elites too, had anything to do with violating children with Epstein or otherwise, lock them under the jail. I think Louisiana is now castrating hoes. Go for that. I'm down. I'm absolutely down. Now, I don't think castration will stop somebody from touching a child if that's what they want to do. But whatever you need to do to stop them from whatever, I'm completely okay with castration in terms of pedos.
Had already been found guilty, had been sentenced already. And this was giving, she recognized this off the bat of the interview, that she was being given a chance to finally speak, which had been her attorney's framing of this all along. And you hear her say it in her own words, that through all of these numerous investigations into Jeffrey Epstein, she says nobody from the FBI, nobody from Florida law enforcement, nobody from New York law enforcement came to talk to her. And she paints this picture that leaves out, obviously, a criminal conviction and found guilty of facts that she had assisted him in years long of grooming and sexually assaulting women.
And plenty of prosecutors believe they developed independently from her evidence to that effect.
Exactly. And I'm sure her legal teams at the time recommended that she not talk to the prosecutors.
And at trial, she did not testify.
Exactly. I think we should, and when you take a step back from this, that's certainly very clear. We know what happened, as you pointed out in your open, of what resulted after this interview. Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche promises nothing. He makes that clear. And yet she was moved to a lower security prison. This is part of the Trump administration's efforts to clear the air, find out more information. I don't know how much new information really was found here outside of hearing from somebody who was intimately involved, but yet does not acknowledge specifics of many instances. She a lot of the conversations around the victims are redacted, and we knew that going into this. The documents that were sent from the Department of Justice to a House committee today are going to be redacted as well in terms of specific victims and who was involved surrounding their recruitment and what happened to them. She answered the questions, as her attorney points out. There was no time where she doesn't, but at the same time, she's not exactly giving the full picture when she's only talking about how they spoke.
It's bull. Let me highlight this for you. The DOJ came out and said that the things that she said in this interview were in stark contrast to what the findings were in the actual court case. Her interview was in stark contrast to the actual findings of the court case. This woman didn't even admit. She was saying things like, I didn't actually check I did the hiring, but I didn't actually, check anyone's IDs. As if to say that you didn't know that these girls were prepubescent. Miss me with the BS. Miss me with the BS. So why are we to believe that if she's mischaracterizing what she actually did when she violated these little girls, why would we then believe her when she exonerates Clinton or Trump? Why would we believe her? She gave nothing. And then even pulled back on some of the things that we already know from the court case. That's why you got 20 years.
Flew on the plane together, and that's the only time, or the only time she was with President Trump was in a social situation. Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche had to prod her on specific names at times and bring up names one by one, and many of her answers, again, this is years later, but still were very rambling, moving between the alleged list to her family life and what happened to her since then, moving to the suicide, to Jeffrey Epstein's health problems, and then to obviously a central core of this, which was their sexual relationship that then she says became more of a financial agreement, in which he was paid at first $25,000 a year to help him with things around his mansions, to then $250,000 a year to do everything from obviously participate in his grooming and assault scheme, but then to also be part of kind of a general manager of numerous properties, including the island, including mansions and things like that.
Very quickly, Jake,
I want to show you guys some of this interview because, again, it's a very long interview, and I don't think that I'm going to read all of this, but the interviewer says, well, let's come back to the chat. So pick up where you were talking about traveling around with him. He rented the New York former Iranian house. She says yes. So until around 1996, at that time, I believe you said that he was basically in your life, looked like you were with him pretty regularly. She says, well, I know. Todd says, okay. She says, so I was never with him regularly. Todd says, okay. That is one of those misnomers. Todd says, okay. She says, I mean, at the beginning, I did see more of him, but I worked in his office. So I would go to the office and I would see him, and I would count in my head when I would see him. I would count that that would be a day that I would see him, but I didn't. I never, ever stayed with him. A British socialite moves to America to go be an office manager for a billionaire. Realizes he has an affinity for young girls, but feels it's appropriate to put her boss's feet in between her breasts. And if you are managing an office, and presumably, I'm guessing she's trying to say that she was HR, wouldn't you, I don't know, check an ID? If you are hiring people, how are they being paid? See where I'm going with this? That's simple. You don't even have to be an FBI agent to pick up on that. You're saying that you're hiring people. How? How are you hiring people that you don't have, they are not on payroll. Doesn't even make sense.
Our audience of who Todd Blanche was before he became Deputy Attorney General.
Todd
And why
Blanche,
this
yep.
makes this particular interview unusual.
Todd Blanche was a defense attorney who represented President Trump in that New York fraud, not just the fraud trial, but I should say the hush money case that he was so controversially in going down the stretch of the election over a year ago now.
He was the president's personal attorney.
And not just in that capacity, but a vocal interviewer, a media personality going out to defend him in the hallways when the whole world felt like it was watching going down the stretch of the election. Todd Blanche was the person that stood day by day, side by side next to President Trump.
Jake Rosen, I appreciate it very much. Thank you.
This has pissed me off. Like I said, I have the transcripts. There are multiple transcripts. I think what would be better than me actually reading these, this isn't like a Diddy complaint, is for me to go through the transcripts and highlight like parts that I find ridiculous and then come back to you guys either with like a short video or a something shorter, because I'm not about to read through all of this BS. Like I read through the first 10 pages and I'm like, this doesn't make sense. This is a mischaracterization. Yeah. Other girlfriends. I definitely knew that it was over after 9/11. Actually, because we were both in New York, and I don't know. Were you in New York on 9/11? I mean 9/11. And yes, it was very scary, blah, 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 blah. Nobody cares. He wouldn't see me at all. Asked me, his mom, who I'm very close to, who's in the hospital at Lenox Hill, just asked me to look after her. And then I knew, as anyone did at that time, if you're not going to be there for someone in 9/11, you're never going to be there. So for me, that was the lines in. And he had another English girlfriend actually from 2000. So let's see if there's any photos of them after 2000. I'm gonna have to do a little bit more research on that because they're not timestamping these photos. I could probably go through the court exhibits. Yeah, I'm gonna go through the court exhibits. This is gonna be a little bit more work. I'm not reading through all this. Renee says this country is so messed up. Those poor young women. Absolutely. And thank you for being a member for 19 months. And the Inform says, put it in GGPT for some. Right. Y'all. Yeah, I'm pissed. So I'm going to keep my eye on this story. I'll probably start working on summaries of some of these transcripts so that I can have them in like more digestible little like y'all got like a visceral reaction because this was in real time how I felt. Yeah, y'all saw raw emotion. Sorry about that. I won't be back today because I'm pissed, but definitely we didn't even get to talk about Russell Simmons and LA Reid. So maybe we'll go live with that tomorrow. But anyway, I will see you guys tomorrow. This has pissed me off.